Hi, I'm Chris Fabry, and I'm pleased that my debut novel is going to be published by Tyndale House. It's called Dogwood, and it's a story about struggle and finding your heart and love and loss, finding your true identity. I love Pat Conroy's writing, and for my first book I wanted to do for West Virginia what he did for South Carolina. When you read any of his books, you can feel the tides moving around you. You can smell that shrimp cooking. And I wanted people to smell what West Virginia is like in the spring when it just explodes with green and the dogwoods bloom and their rhododendron. In the fall, it's probably the most beautiful place on the planet because of the colors of the leaves. So the setting really is a huge character in the novel. But the two main characters are Karen and Will. Will is coming back from prison after serving time for a crime that really has shocked the community of Dogwood. Karen's life has spiraled. She's struggling to survive. She's married to the pastor of a small church there. She spends a lot of her time, especially at night, in her closet in a space that she says is littered with poetry and quotation books. She feels like God has trimmed the nails of her soul to the quick. And the trigger that helps Karen change is an unlikely old woman named Ruthie Bowles. Ruthie asks a lot of questions. She probes. She delves into Karen's background. And there's a little bit of mystery around Ruthie, who she is. She's kind of this phantom moving in and around the lives of Karen and then Will when he returns. And she tries to help Karen move out of that small world that she lives in and face the truth. But as anyone knows, the truth sometimes is frightening, and it is for all three of those main characters. And the struggle is not only to discover the truth, but then to take that into change. There's also a young man in the book named Danny who tells the story of his sister's deaths. He tells his counselor, he's responsible for it, even though Will has gone to prison for those deaths. So Danny's this tortured soul struggling to discover the truth about himself and his future. The story culminates with a mystery and the solving of a mystery about one of Will's friends who's disappeared. The town turns against Will. Some of his family members turns against him. And the resolution to all this presents some surprises. I hope people will get to the end of the novel and will think they have it figured out. And then suddenly they'll see, I didn't expect that. At least once, maybe twice. I first got the seed of this idea in the late 80s and early 90s when there were several horrific accidents involving children, some by drunk drivers. And floating in the back of my mind was a love story between a farm boy and this beautiful young woman. And the question that presents itself is, what if a person makes such a sacrifice for someone else that there's no way they can repay that sacrifice? Obviously that gives us a lot of room to portray a Christ figure, and Will is that in this book. I think that God is writing his story with each of our lives. You see that in this novel. And the problem is that we have a difficulty pulling back and seeing the big picture and understanding how all of our chapters fit in together with the big picture that God is working out. So I hope this book will make women fall in love with Will Hatfield. That's what my agent said when she first read it. I wish I could find a guy like this Will. It shows his relentless love toward Karen and God's relentless love and mercy toward us. Karen really is a character who's unreachable by Will. She's in a position not even to respond to him. He's basically returned for her. She's married, she has kids, she's a pastor's wife, so there are a lot of strikes to their relationship. So I think women will relate to Karen's struggle. She's sort of this every woman character, the spouse who tries hard to please people around her. She gives herself to her kids and her husband, her church. Still, there just feels like there's something missing. There's some aspect of life that she can't grab hold of. I like stories that have satisfying conclusions, not to tie everything together in a neat bow where everybody becomes a Christian and eat bonbons the rest of your life, but that show real life along with the eternal purpose, that God really is working behind the scenes of our lives, even when it feels like he's hiding. So I think this story will be satisfying to a lot of women, especially, who would love a second chance at life, at love. And I hope you catch the excitement that I feel for Dogwood.